They didn't even pick up when I walked down the aisle. That silence was louder than the vows echoing through the small chapel. I'd chosen a simple dress, nothing like the glittering gown my sister wore when they threw her that ridiculous society wedding. I still remember the string quartet, the champagne fountain, the speech my father gave about raising daughters who marry up. They spent nearly 6 figures to make her wedding trend online. For mine, they didn't even send a text. When I called them that morning, half hoping, half knowing, I heard my mother's voice, cold and sharp as a winter blade. "Enjoy marrying your plumber, sweetheart. We won't be embarrassed with you." And then, click. I just stood there, holding the phone. My bouquet trembled in my hands, but not from heartbreak. Not anymore. Something colder took root. Something that didn't wither. They'd always loved appearances more than people. When my sister got engaged to a corporate heir, my parents practically knelt to him. They called him the future of our family. I remember my mother saying, "You could learn a thing or two from your sister." Back then, I smiled and pretended it didn't sting. I let them parade her fiancé through every dinner, while my own boyfriend, Evan, wasn't invited. Evan didn't come from money. He came from grease-stained hands and long shifts. But he had a quiet confidence that didn't need polishing. I met him when my car broke down outside my apartment, and he fixed it without charging me a cent. When I offered to pay, he just smiled and said, "You look like someone who could use a break." That's when I knew he was different. But my parents didn't see that. They only saw the uniform, the calloused hands, the lack of pedigree. So when he proposed, I didn't even bother telling them right away. I wanted to believe, stupidly, that love would be enough. The week of the wedding, my sister called. Her voice was syrup-sweet. "You're really going through with it? With him?" "Yes." "Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Mom's been crying all week about the humiliation." That was my cue. I stopped defending myself. I stopped explaining. I just let them build their little fantasy where I was the family's failure. But I was already working on something else. Evan's business, Blue Line Repairs, had been small. I'd seen how my parents looked down on it, how they scoffed at his work truck parked in our driveway. What they didn't know was that I had quietly been helping him scale. Behind their backs, I invested every spare dollar, rebuilt his website, secured commercial contracts, and filed the legal documents that would later make him majority owner of one of the fastest-growing infrastructure companies in the state. He wasn't just a plumber anymore. He was the man corporations called when their million-dollar systems failed. But I didn't tell my parents that. Not yet. When the wedding day came, I didn't cry over their absence. I smiled. Because absence leaves space. For clarity, for control, for the kind of revenge that doesn't scream. After the ceremony, I sent them one photo. Evan and I standing in front of his newest project, a corporate high-rise, his company's logo plastered across the site. His arm around me, his wedding ring gleaming. No caption, just the image. 10 minutes later, my mother called, then my father, then my sister. I didn't answer the first few times. Let them stew. Let curiosity turn to dread. When I finally picked up, my father's voice cracked. "Sweetheart, we had—" "No," I said, calm as glass. "You didn't care." My mother jumped in, panicked. "We made a mistake. We thought—" "That he wasn't good enough?" I finished for her. "Funny. He just signed a maintenance contract with your company's headquarters. I guess you'll be seeing him more often." Silence. Heavy. I could almost hear their pride shatter on the other end. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Revenge doesn't always require cruelty. Sometimes it's just the quiet satisfaction of truth unveiling itself. They've tried to mend things since then. Flowers on our doorstep. Invitations I never respond to. My sister even came by once, all smiles and apologies, until she realized Evan's company had bought out the property management firm her husband depended on. Poetic, isn't it? Now, when they look at me, they see what they threw away. Not because of money, but because they misjudged worth. I learned something that day. Some people only understand love when it's gone. Others only respect power when it's too late to ask for mercy. So when people ask why I don't visit my parents anymore, I just smile and say, they were busy the day I got married. I returned the favor. And that was the last call I ever took.